Welcome back to Shiftnsmiles, guys, where our number one priority is to shift that perspective to a positive one regarding motorcycles. And today what we're going to go over is how to ride a motorcycle. We're going to go over a couple things in this series, but the most important one to start off with is just controls, right? What are the controls on a motorcycle? How to navigate it? What do they do? How are they used? And to just give you a little bit more insight into what a motorcycle is. So if you are a person that's looking to get into motorcycles, if you are someone who is coming from a different platform, let's say European or Asian into, let's say, something like a Harley, well, this might help you out. Or if you kind of just want to add to the conversation down in the comments section below to just give people more knowledge and understanding of what a motorcycle is and how to ride one. So I will be your liaison, your chaperone, your guide to this lesson today on how to ride a motorcycle. We're going to make sure to do this in the most fun perspective as possible. And thank you guys for tuning in on yet another wonderful time on Shiftnsmiles. So today what we're going to be planning on going over is how to ride a motorcycle. So like I was talking about before, right? So we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what's on a motorcycle and what are its controls. So we're going to start from the right side, moving over to our left side. So this is a 2021 Lowrider S. Now the buttons that you see here are not going to be on every single motorcycle in terms of how they look and how they're displayed. You will have buttons such as these on different makes and models, but they either format them differently in terms of how they look. They're situated in different parts of the motorcycle in terms of, like, you know, sometimes directionals all appear on one side versus having them split like these are. And they're just going to look slightly different depending upon the make. So you have differences between, you know, Indian, Moto Guzzi, Suzuki, Yamaha, Harley, and it just goes on and on at that point. So instead of bothering you with the details of what is specifically what, we're just going to go over the base controls on a motorcycle. So we're going to start from the right side and make our way over to the left side. Now, these are where your hands are going to be resting more times than not. So it's important that we actually get familiar with what the motorcycle is and how the controls work. So starting on the right hand side, on practically every single motorcycle that is manual, again, that's excluding automatics, you're going to have on the right side the throttle that opens up and closes. This allows you to actually give power to the motorcycle. So I want you guys to think of this similar to that of a gas pedal that is in a car. You know, typically where your right foot goes to press down for gas. I know it sounds very simple, but you're coming from a car to a motorcycle, it's good to know that that is, in fact, its gas pedal, but you're going to use it with your right hand. Then we move over to the front brake. So pressing this in is going to lock up the front tire little by little with a little bit of pressure. Again, if you press it all the way, you're going to lock it up completely. If you give it a little bit of a tap and progressively pull it in, it'll start slowing down the motorcycle. That is the front brake, and you have the disc that's right here. Some motorcycles come with 2 discs in the front. Some of them come with 1, but that's just going into more detail than what we need to for today. So we're already going over the throttle, the front brake. Now we're going to move down to what's also on the right hand side is this right here. Now this is the back brake, right? So it's going to feel kind of weird when you first get on a motorcycle because you're thinking to yourself, well, why are 2 brakes that are on different parts of the motorcycle all on one side? You know, I wish I had an answer to that. I don't, but I can find out and figure it out for you guys. But aside from why it's functionally placed on the same side, the good thing is there is a front brake, there is a back brake, whereas cars typically just have one brake pedal that slows down all 4 tires. So the good thing is you have 2 independent brakes, whether you want to do something that's referred to as trail braking on the back side, or if you want to do something that's just regular braking on the front side, you have at least the option to do the front brake and the back brake, or you can press them both at the same time to kind of slow up both tires. So that's pretty neat. Again, very different from a car where all the brakes are applied at once. These 2 are independent on the motorcycle, which is pretty nice. So now we're going to get into a little bit of what the cluster action is here. So obviously the bikes are supposed to come in with mirrors, so you definitely have those, but here is where it's going to be slightly different. And the reason why I say it's slightly different because it depends on the manufacturer and how they want to have their button layouts. So at least for Harley, you have on this side your kill switch here, your ignition, your hazard lights, and your directionals. So the way that this works in terms of starting up your motorcycle, well, what we want to do is get ourselves push off the ground, get ourselves upright, and then now, while you have both feet planted on the ground, we can start the entire process if we want to. So what we're going to do is, this is a kill switch, right? This allows you to turn on your motorcycle and also shut it off. So what I'm going to do is turn it on, and all the beautiful lights that sing to you in harmony turn right on with you. So this is allowing me to open up the fuel injection system to then start my motorcycle. So to show you guys what that looks like, if I press this for 2 seconds, boom, motorcycle turns right on. So in order to show you guys everything else, I don't need to have the motorcycle on. What I do need to do is at least have this kill switch on to show you guys in real time what do the buttons do and how are they displayed. So again, this is being your kill switch. You have your ignition switch, which is normally followed by like some form of a lightning symbol, and then you have, well, your hazards, right? So your hazards are both going to appear at the same time like they typically would on any vehicle. And from there, just to give it a look in the front, in your directionals, you're going to have those hazard lights turning on. Please do me a favor, say hi to RCQ Road Captain Quack and GQ Glamorous Quack. They're both accompanying me today and helping me out with this video. So again, hazard lights are going to be right there, flickering on. And then on the back side, you are also going to have hazard lights as well. So again, if there's anything in terms of a hazard that you are going to be or in, then it's best to have them on. Now, directing ourselves back, well, we have the right turn signal. So like I was mentioning before, sometimes this right turn signal is on one side, where they'll have a switch that goes to the left and to the right, and then you can either A, press it in to manually cancel them out, or they have this cool thing where it just is self-canceling, right? So if you're leaning at a certain angle and if you make a certain turn, the bike knows that when it comes back up right, it's going to turn itself off. But regardless, per laws, you have to have those on, obviously. So mine is where it's two separate ones, where this is the right turn signal. It'll pop up right there. The right turn signal will turn on the right side, and press it again to turn it off. And then I can move over to the left side where I have my left turn signal. Again, it's going to show up. Left turn signal's on both sides. And then I can also turn it off by pressing it. So mine is one of those motorcycles where it's cool, in my opinion, that it's self-canceling. So if I were to make a certain turn, right, at a certain angle, I don't know what the angle is, but if I were to make a turn, when the bike feels that it's back upright, it turns the sensor off completely. So that's really nice. Then, going on the left side, what we have is our high beam and low beam. Right? So what you could typically do in a car, where you pull it in on the left-hand side, you can flash someone if you want. So this is flashing right there. And then what I can do is, to keep it fully on and fully engaged, I flip the switch up, and now my high beam is on the entire time. So we have high beam and low beam. Then obviously the horn, I'm not going to necessarily press it because we're in public. Or, I'll do it for you guys. There you go. So we do have a horn on that side too, and this is just the bare minimum basics of a motorcycle that you would have on practically any motorcycle, right? So now at least I think what's a little bit more unique to Harley is this little circular button right here with arrows. This allows me to toggle through the different key diagnostics or different key items to pay attention to on my motorcycle. So for example, I can have the time popped up. I can press this button and it'll flip over to the total miles. And yes, this is a 2-year-old motorcycle and it does have 38,000 miles on it. So I definitely ride it often. Then we could switch over to trip miles in A, trip miles in B, and then I press it again and it lets me know how much is left in my tank until I need to refuel. And then it circles back through. So those are all the options. And then the cool part is, again, these clusters might be different. You might have a motorcycle that has the clusters up here. You might have just one gauge, whether it's analog or digital. It all comes in different shapes, forms, and sizes. But at the very least, you have your gauge that's here that lets you know how fast it is that you're going or how much fun it is that you're having. I obviously equate speed to relative fun. But anyways, then at least for my bike, the RPM gauge is right down here, so it lets me know roughly how much power is being put into my motorcycle, which is nice. So again, that is just the bare bones basics of a motorcycle. So to go over it real quick, you have the kill switch that's here that turns on the ignition. You have the actual ignition switch that turns over the motorcycle. Then you have the hazard lights that turn on both hazards at the same time. Your right signal, your left signal. You have your flicking of the high beam and low beam, turning your high beam on, the actual horn, and then the actual button to show you your gauge cluster in terms of different parts like time, miles, trip A, trip B, and then also how much is left in your tank. And then at least for me in particular on my motorcycle, my gauges are right here, so I have my miles per hour going all the way through of how fast the bike can go, and then I also have my RPMs. And then you're probably wondering, okay, well, what else, Nigel? You haven't even gone over, well, how does the bike move and how does it shift? Well, like I mentioned before, this is the throttle, so if you listen, this gives power to the motorcycle, so that's what's going to be your gas pedal. And then we have the left side that we can look at. So the left side is where all the action happens too. Where this right here is your clutch lever, right? So for those of you that are manual drivers or stick drivers in a car, this is your left pedal, okay? This is what's going to allow you to go into gears, right? Into first, second, third, fourth, fifth. And if you have an overdrive gear, you can go into sixth. So what you're going to need to do is you actually pull this in. It disengages the clutch. And then you have your little friend down here that allows you to shift the motorcycle. So for most motorcycles, you'll have them going, like most traditional motorcycles, I should say, that are not racing motorcycles, the gears start going down into first. You have the middle, which is neutral, which you will find is the hardest gear to find out of all of them. I don't know why. If anybody else could explain to me that's the reason, then please entertain me. But that is always going to be your hardest gear to find. And then going up is second, and then you have third, fourth, fifth. And if you do have an overdrive gear, you'll have a sixth gear. So this motorcycle does have a sixth gear as an overdrive gear. So that's where you're going to shift everything from your shifter. This is what is also related to the actual shifting knob in a car. If you drive manual, whether it's on the right hand side of the car or the left hand side, it is the shifter that is in the middle of the car. So that's what that is. So again, looking at a car, bringing it down to a motorcycle, this is your gas pedal. You do have two different brakes, right? Front brake, back brake. Then you have your clutch that you pull in to allow you to shift gears, and what actually allows you to shift gears is pushing down or pulling up. And yeah, that's how you have your fun. So there you have it. Those are all the controls of a motorcycle. And just again to briefly go over them, you have your front brake that's on the right side, your throttle that's on the right side, and your rear brake down there. Then again, just specific to this model itself, you have your kill switch, your ignition, you do have your hazards, you also have your right turn signal, and then over here we have our horn, left turn signal, high beam, low beam, and this is just what allows me to toggle through miles, trips, and also go through time and gas mileage. So then you also have the clutch lever that's on this side that allows you to disengage the clutch and shift your motorcycle. So that's all there is to it in terms of understanding just the slight basics of a motorcycle. So if you guys found this helpful, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to Shiftnsmiles. And in the next video, we're going to talk about, well, how do you actually ride the motorcycle? What does that look like? And shifting gears, how you know you're in first, second, third, and going on and so forth. So please remember to tune in next time. Remember to like, share, and subscribe on videos like this. They're going to be popping up weekly, and let me know if there's anything else that you guys want to go over. I will be going over more in detail about how to ride a motorcycle in terms of, hey, how do you shift a bike? What are the proper maneuvering techniques, and how to get the most fun while also maintaining safety on a motorcycle? Because at the end of the day, these things are wonderful, and I would hope that you guys get yourself the opportunity to actually ride a motorcycle, because there's nothing like it. Being able to travel on two wheels in the open air, the breeze, chugging away on miles, well, I can go about it all day, but You're going to need to experience it yourself. So we'll check you out on the next one.